The political impact of what has happened in Scottish politics today, this time the roar of an earthquake through Hamilton, Lark Hall, and Stonehouse as Labour's unexpected by-election win, with Davy Russell unseating the SNP in a seat long considered nationalist heartland, is more than a local upset. It's a portent for a government to win a by-election uh, mid-term is astonishing to start with. To win an election against the SNP, to win an election and rub Reform's nose in it is even, this is a cracker, this is a fissure in the electoral landscape, in the once impenetrable edifice of SNP dominance. And if Anas Sawar is to be believed, the first brick in the path to a Labour government at Holyrood in 2026, the by-election was triggered by the death of SNP Minister Christina McKelvey, and the SNP had held the seat securely with a majority of over 4,500 in 2021. By all calculations, the race should have been a straightforward retention, but this contest morphed into a three-way knife fight between Labour, the SNP, and the newly emboldened Reform UK, whose tartan insurgency was boosted by national exposure and the scent of English momentum. SNP leader John Swinney declared that the race was a straight fight between the SNP and Reform, a tactical blunder now seared into the post-mortem. Davy Russell, a local figure with civic credentials and unflashy appeal, won with 8,559 votes, just 620 ahead of SNP's Katie Loudon and less than 1,500 ahead of Reform's Ross Lambie. The margin might look thin on paper, but the symbolism is weighty. The SNP's vote collapsed from 46.2% in 2021 to just under 30%, while Labour slipped only slightly. Crucially, Reform surged from obscurity to 26% of the vote, and the Conservatives, meanwhile, were practically liquidated, finishing fourth with just over 1,600 votes. Sir John Curtis sums it up with customary precision: the Tories are being eaten for lunch, breakfast and dinner by Reform. Anas Sawar was jubilant, and rightly so. He had campaigned with energy, sharpening rhetoric, and a willingness to confront both nationalism and populism. And Sawar accused the SNP of misinformation and Reform of dog whistle racism, and particularly over a Facebook ad that misrepresented his background and his views. Standing beside Russell in the early hours, Sawar proclaimed, "We've proven the pollsters wrong, the commentators wrong, the book is wrong, and John Swinney wrong." One could almost hear echoes of Blair in 1997 or Wilson in 1964. Not a landslide, but the beginning of something. And yet this is not Labour's story. Reform UK under Farage and his lieutenants is now a disruptive force in Scottish politics, long thought to be immune to the brand of English nationalist populism. The party leapt from 56 votes last time to over 7,000. Richard Tice called it a fantastic result. Well, he still lost, and it is a fantastic result. But Reform also failed to overtake Labour or the SNP. They remain a problem for the right, not yet a solution. Russell himself addressed Reform head-on in his victory speech. "The poison of Reform isn't us, it isn't Scotland," a carefully chosen phrase aiming to detoxify Scottish politics while drawing a red line against imported division. This was just a by-election, but its implications stretched to the May 2026 Holyrood election. Labour will now smell blood. They have won the Westminster version of this seat, and now Holyrood's too. If they can make similar gains in places like East Kilbride, Ayr and Dundee, the SNP majority may begin to look not just vulnerable but untenable. Swinney, still unelected himself in any general context as leader, looked weary in defeat. He admitted that the party still has work to do. That's an underestimate. And that's an understatement, bordering on parody. The SNP's vote collapse is not episodic, it's systematic. And so Hamilton has spoken, not in a roar, but in a resolute whisper that might become a shout. The SNP's invincibility is broken. Labour's path to power, though long and uncertain, now has a discernible beginning, and as Davy Russell takes his seat, we're left with the echo of Sowers' claim: the first brick has been laid. And that's not a brick with Farage's name on it. Whether it becomes a foundation or a folly will depend on what Labour builds next.